Odin. Odin. King of Asgard. You know, in the comics, you reactivate your other on reveals at his location. It's got nothing to do with Odin. He's the father of Thor. Former ruler of Asgard, because now Thor's taken over. Yeah, he was the predecessor of Thor on the 1 million BC Avengers. Yeah, you know, Daddy Thor, Loki Daddy, Thor Daddy. Yeah, but his ability in Snap's got nothing to do with Odin at all. Okoye. In Snap, she gives all cards in your deck +1 power. In the comics, she is bodyguard to the Wakandan king, or the ruler of Wakanda. So again, not a lot to work with. She's a warrior woman that's good with a spear. Like, that's it. Yeah, there's not a real lot you can do with that. All right, Omega Red. In Snap, if you're winning the location, he gives other locations extra power. In the comics, he's a mutant with the ability to absorb life force to sustain himself. And he was given the carbonadium coils as a means to control that ability by the KGB. So, yeah, not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. Onslaught. In Snap, he doubles your other ongoing cards' powers. In the comics, he was an amalgamation of the worst parts of the psyches of Professor X and Magneto combined. Who tried to take over the world. So yeah, so nope, not even remotely close. Orca in Snap gets extra power if he's your only card there. In the comics, he is a pretender to the throne of Atlantis and a rival of Namor. So yeah, so he's also like not much to work with, really. He's just a big, strong guy that likes to dress up like a killer whale. That's literally it. Patriot gives your cards with no abilities extra power. But in the comics, he was the Young Avengers version of Captain America. So, no. Ability in Snap has nothing to do with the character at all. That ability in Snap could have been given to anyone. Like, it is not an ability that has anything to do with Patriot exclusively. So, no. Alright. Phoenix Force resurrects one of your destroyed cards, and then you can move it each turn. I want to give it spot on, but because of the lack of interaction with Jean Grey, which was how it was originally data mined, I believe, before they split Jean and Phoenix Force into two cards, I'm going to put it as close. Because, yeah, there really should have been some connection with Jean Grey. Polaris, daughter of Magneto, moves low-cost cards around. I get what they were going for with her, but the arbitrary restriction on the cost of the cards she moves, I'll put her in close, like her dad, Magneto. Professor X locks down the location. Cards can't move in or out or be added. In the comics, he is a powerful telepath. He can't really lock locations down, though. He can control minds and, like, cause people to, like, freeze in place. Yeah, I'm going to go with sort of, kind of, not really with Professor X. I get what they were going for, but it's not really that evocative. There should have been some interaction between him and Cerebro, I think. Proxima Midnight. Like her husband, Corvus Glaive, she is one of the servants of Thanos, and she's a really, really good fighter with a spear. But the fact that when you discard her, she goes to your lowest power location, that's got nothing to do with the character, but they didn't really have a lot to work with. Psylocke. In-game, she gives you +1 energy next turn. In the comics, she is a mutant telepath who had her mind swapped into the body of an Asian assassin named Quanon. She's able to also use her telepathic powers to manifest a psychic sword, which she does in the style of a katana. But yeah, not even close to her abilities in the comics. Not even close. Oh, poor old Punisher. In Snap, he gains +1 power for each opposing card. In the comics, he is a former soldier whose family was caught in the crossfire of a gang war and killed, and he swore revenge on criminals, and he wages a one-man war on crime. His ability in Snap has nothing to do with the character. It is not even... In fact, again, if there was a tier below this, he would go in it. Alright, Quake. In the game, she swaps 2 locations around. In the comics, she is an Inhuman with earthquake powers. So... I wouldn't say swapping locations is what she does. I'm going to put her in close. She should, like, destroy, or cause damage to a location. Like, reduce its effectiveness or something like that. That'd be cool. So, like, if you had the location that, if a card moves here, give it +2, you could Quake it to make it +1. Like, reduce its effectiveness. Or has a chance to not activate. Yeah, even better. Alright, Quicksilver, in Snap, always starts in your opening hand. In the comics, he is a mutate, not a mutant. He wasn't thought to be a mutant, but it was revealed he's a mutate. He was modified by the High Evo, but he's a super speedster. I'm going to go with sorta, kinda, not really. I know what they were getting with. He's super fast, so he's always in your hand at the start. But, come on. There's more you could do with him than that. Quinjet reduces the cost of your cards that didn't start in your deck by 1. In the comics, it's a Quinjet. It's a plane. The Avengers plane. It's not much to work with. Yeah. Plane go new. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's a plane. What are you gonna do? Alright, Ravonna. In-game, she makes it so that your cards that cost 1 or less, with 1 or less power, cost 1 less. In the comics, she was actually the lover of Kang. But they really expanded on the character in the MCU. They made her like a judge at the TVA, which she was not in the comics. But yeah, her ability has got nothing to do with the character. So, actually, I'm going to give her not a whole lot to work with. Like Mobius, Ravonna's not a whole lot to work with. So, Red Skull. In Snap, he's a big boy, and he gives cards on your opponent's side +2 power. But in the comics, he was Hitler's right-hand man. He's a evil Nazi dude. So I kind of want to go not a lot to work with. because like he doesn't actually have any powers. But there is like the whole Cosmic Cube angle. He did control the Cosmic Cube for a time. Yes, he should add the Tesseract to your deck. Yeah. So I'm going to actually go with not even remotely close. There is a lot more they could have done with Red Skull than give him 15 fucking power, which is insane. There is no way that he is stronger than Juggernaut, that he is stronger than Galactus. Like, this is nuts. Yeah. All right, Rescue. If you play another card at her location, she gets +5 power. But in the comics, it's Pepper Potts, former assistant to Tony Stark, who became his girlfriend, and he gave her a suit of armor that she uses as rescue. It's a mostly defensive suit of armor to help with saving people in you know, like emergencies and stuff like that. It's not meant to be used offensively. So the fact that she gains power, that's kind of like, she should have Falcon's ability. She should have the ability to swoop up your cheap little one costs and put them back in your hand. That rescue should have Falcon's ability. Rhino in Snap destroys the location you're at, turns it into a ruin. In the comics, he is a dude in a rhino suit. A dude with super strength in a rhino suit. So he doesn't turn locations into ruins. That's Juggernaut. Juggernaut should have Rhino's ability. Or who was the other one we said? Not Jeff. The other one we said that was all about destroying locations. Yeah. So, yeah, Rhino, it's Rhino should have Juggernaut's ability, and Juggernaut should have either Jeff's or Rhino's ability. Black Bolt, thank you, Machete. Yeah, Rhino should have Juggernaut's ability. Knocks people out of his way. Alright, Rocket. In the game, if your opponent played a card there, he gets extra power. In the comics, he is an Earth Raccoon that was captured and taken to Half-World, where he was experimented on, given sentience, along with a bunch of other animal creatures. And then he escaped Half-World and ended up joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a lot they could have done with Rocket, apart from just giving him extra power. So I'm going to put him in, like, not even close. Same with Groot. Like, they could have had some interaction with Rocket and Groot. That would have been really cool. Rock Slide. In-game, he adds 2 rocks to your opponent's deck. In the comics, he is a mutant who is super strong with a rocky hide. He doesn't throw rocks at things. So, I mean, I get what they were going with. But like Korg, it's sort of kind of not really. Yeah, sort of kind of not really. Because he doesn't summon rocks or throw rocks. He's made of rock. Alright, Rogue. In-game, she copies the abilities of an ongoing card from your opponent's side. In the comics, she absorbs the powers of people she touches. Rogue spot on. Yeah, Steel. Yeah. I think it should be any card. I don't think it should be limited to ongoings. She should be able to take Cyclops' power, right? Especially like Cyclops' Evo power. Rogue should be able to take that. But overlooking that, yeah, overlooking that, we'll just put her in spot on. Yeah. Alright. Ronan. In-game, he gets extra power for each card in your opponent's hand. In the comics, Ronan is the accuser of the Kree Empire. He's the judge, jury, and executioner for crimes against the Kree. So, yeah, no, not even remotely close to the character in the comics. Oh, and he's also bad at dance-offs in the MCU. Um, all right, Sabretooth. In-game, if he's destroyed, he gets added back to your hand and costs 0. In the comics, he's a mutant like Wolverine with a healing factor and razor sharp claws and teeth. And is Wolverine's arch nemesis. So I'm gonna put him in sort of kind of not really. So like when he gets killed, he returns to your hand but costs 0, doesn't get any stronger. Wolverine gets stronger. When Wolverine does the same thing, but Wolverine gets stronger. Oh, he doesn't return your hand. Wolverine regenerates at another location. Sabretooth and Wolverine have the same power set. The exact same power set. Wolverine got adamantium claws. Oh, actually, Sabretooth has adamantium claws now too. He's had them on and off over the years, but he's got them currently. So yeah. Anyway, Sandman makes it so you can only play 1 card a turn because you're blinded by the sand. In the comics, yeah, he's a dude that can transform, dude made of sand. I'm gonna go sort of, kind of, not really. I get what they were going with because you're blinded, sand blinded by the sandstorm, but I mean, for a guy made of sand that can morph his body and make shape, like they could have done a lot more with it. Could have done a lot more. Yeah, you should. Yeah, he should clog your opponent's side of the board with sand. Yeah. All right, Sauron. In game, he removes the abilities from all ongoing cards in your deck and hand. Is it? In the comics, he was a scientist named Karl Lykos who was studying pterodactyls in the Savage Land. He got bitten and was infected with a virus that transformed him into a humanoid pterodactyl with hypnotic powers. And angry at the world, he decided to try and take over the Savage Land and was thwarted by Kazar and the X-Men on multiple occasions. And then he teamed up with Stegron, and he was turning people into dinosaurs. And he was confronted by Spider-Man, who said with that technology you could cure cancer. And he said, I don't want to cure cancer. Yeah, I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs. So, but yeah, his ability in Snap, nothing to do with the character. Yeah, fair. Yeah. If you could cure cancer or turn people into dinosaurs, dinosaurs wins. Scarlet Witch. I'd be a dinosaur. Where do I sign up? Exactly. Dinosaurs go roar. Scarlet Witch. In game, she transforms a location into a random one. In the comics, she's a once thought mutant, but revealed to be mutate, experimented on by the High Evolutionary. And she has the ability to cast. She uses chaos magic, which alters probabilities and basically just creates chaotic situations. But she can also, like, she's gotten more and more control of it over the years. So now she's actually like a full on, like, proper spellcaster. And she also happens to have the elder god Chthon trapped inside her soul. So I'm kind of going to go with the close, because the whole chaos magic thing, changing her location into a random one, I kind of get where they were going with that. But yeah, not quite there. All right, Scorpion. All right, in Snap, he afflicts cards in your opponent's hand with -1 power. In the comics, he's a dude in a robotic scorpion suit. That's it. He can't actually sting people and inflict them with scorpion poison. So I'm going to go sort of, kind of, not really with Scorpion. Yeah, sort of, kind of, not really. All right, Sebastian Shaw. In game, when he gains power, he gains extra power. And in the comics, he's a mutant that can absorb and redirect kinetic energy. So if you punch him, he gets stronger. So I'm tempted to go spot on. You know, yeah, fuck it. Let's go spot on. Yeah. He can absorb and redirect kinetic energy. So actually, no, we're going to put him in close. Because it should be like Hulk. It should be that he needs to get hit in order to take that hit and change it into buff. All right, Celine. She afflicts the lowest cost cards with negative power. And in the comics, she's a nigh immortal mutant sorceress. So, sort of, kind of, not really. I think. I mean, the afflicting things with negative power, that's. I mean, she's an energy vampire, so yeah, like she drains life force to sustain her own. So I get that, but she afflicts these cards with negative power, but it doesn't buff her. So that's why I've gone sort of, kind of, not really. All right. The Sentinel in Snap, when you play it, adds a Sentinel to your hand. In comics, robots created by Bolivar Trask to hunt down and imprison mutants. But they are not capable of self-reproduction. That's the Master Mold's job. So I'm going to go sort of, kind of, not really. Yeah, but Sentinels can't make other Sentinels. The Master Mold makes the Sentinels. All right, the Sentry. In-game, he summons the Void. It can't be played at the right location. Summons the Void to the right location. The Void's -10. In the comics, he's basically a guy with a split personality. One personality being the heroic Sentry. The other personality being the evil Void. So yeah, they got Sentry spot on. You play the Sentry, you get the Void, and then you have to deal with the Void. Yeah, yep, he's pretty much spot on. Sarah, in game, she reduces the cost of cards in your hand by 1. In the comics, she is she's an Asgardian, or actually no, she's not Asgardian. She's one of the what was the name of the race that adopted Angela? Like, as Angela's Asgardian, but she was adopted by, well, by the angel race. Oh, shit, my lore on Sarah's not too great, but I know she's a sorcerer. I know that much. So I'm going to put not even close. Oh, sort of, kind of, not really. I think there's a lot more they could have done with Sarah. But yeah, giving her like cost reduction ability, it's a bit lame. You know, not much to work with, you reckon? No. You reckon? Yeah, look, okay, all right, look, I suppose you're right. Yeah, we'll go not much to work with. All right, Shadow King, in-game, returns cards back to their base power. In the comics, Amal Farouk was possessed by a malevolent psychic entity known as the Shadow King. Amal Farouk being the Egyptian dude in the white suit. Yeah, no, it's got nothing to do with his ability. Shang-Chi, in game, you know him, destroys any cards on your opponent's side that are 10 or more power. In the comics, he's the master of kung fu, a master martial artist, and leader of what's the name of his father's former criminal organization, which he is reforming, the Five Weapons Society. That's it. Yeah. No. He's like, he has Elsa Bloodstone's ability. Elsa Bloodstone should have the destroy cards with 10 or more power. Elsa Bloodstone is a monster hunter. Shang-Chi's just really good at martial arts. So Shang-Chi is, and I mean, yeah, he controls the 10 rings in the comics now too, as well. But they should have done something more with that. He's not a destroyer of strong opponents, and especially not give him Killmonger's ability, but with the rings. That might work. Yeah. But yeah, sorry about the ads. Yeah, he shouldn't be able to destroy every big strong card on your opponent's side, because that's not what Shang-Chi does. He's not a fucking giant slayer. You know? Yeah, it doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Shanna. Shanna the She-Devil. In Snap, she adds a random 1-cost card to each other location. In the comics, Shanna is a former veterinarian that went on an expedition to the Savage Land, met Kazar, fell in love, and joined him in his crusade to defend the Savage Land from those that would exploit it. So yeah, summoning random 1-cost cards, like she can summon up Marta. They've never even met. You know, she can summon Umbaku. They've never met. She can summon Ebony Maw. They've never met. Like, it makes no sense. She-Hulk. She should summon random dinos. Exactly. She-Hulk. Yep. For every unspent energy, she gets cheaper. In the comics, she's the Hulk's cousin who was saved from an accident, a life-threatening accident by a blood transfusion from Bruce, which basically let her transform into She-Hulk. But unlike Hulk, she retains her intelligence, and yeah, she continues to practice law, but as She-Hulk. So there's a lot they could have done with She-Hulk being a lawyer. I want to put her in not much to work with, but there is a lot to work with. She's like a prominent lawyer in the Marvel Universe. They could have done something along those lines. Send one of your opponent's cards to prison or something, you know? Like, that would have been cool. Shocker. In Snap, normally has no abilities, but High Evo evolves him into reducing the cost of your leftmost card. And in the comics, he's a criminal that uses gauntlets that shoot out compressed air vibrations. So it's not even electric based, like as his name suggests. So no, not even remotely close. There's a lot in this not even remotely close list. Wow. All right, Shuri. Doubles the power of the next card you play at her location. In the comics, she's the sister of Black Panther. She served as Black Panther herself. And she's the current queen of Wakanda, I think. She's the current ruler of Wakanda in the comics. So, like, She's a tech gal as well. I get the tech buffing vibe, which is why I'm going sort of kind of not really. I get the tech buffing vibe, but it's not. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't really work in terms of the comics. It's more MCU than the comics. All right, Silk. In the game, whenever a card is played, she moves. But in the comics, she's basically she was bitten by the same radioactive spider that bit Peter Parker, which made her a target of a nigh immortal being that wanted to kill all like spider totem characters. So she was hidden away in a bunker for years, until she was eventually released because they needed her help in fighting the war against Morlun, I think his name was. I didn't really read a lot of that spider stuff, but yeah, she's basically sort of kind of another girl Spider-Man. Kind of going to go with not a lot to work with. Yeah, Morlun eats spider people. That's right. So yeah, I'm going to go with not like Ghost Spider before her. Not a lot to work with. Which, and this category doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that yeah, it's sort of okay for the card. Like there's not a lot else they could do. So yeah, so this doesn't mean that they're bad. They're just kind of eh. Silver Surfer in Snap gives extra power to your other 3-cost cards. In the comics, he's the best known as one of the longest serving Heralds of Galactus. Granted the power cosmic, he soars through space on his surfboard and is able to fire energy beams with the power cosmic. So yeah, no, not even remotely close. Why isn't Silver Surfer Galactus's Herald in game? You know, that would be so cool if they made him the Herald in game. A lot more interactivity. Yeah, not even close. All right, Scar. In game, he's cheaper for every other 10-cost card you play. In the comics, he's the son of the Hulk. That's it. Not a lot to work with. All right, Snowguard. In game, she summons up the Hawk and Bear spirits that do different things. In the comics, yes, she is attuned to the magics of the Northern Hemisphere and is able to transform fully or parts of self into various Arctic animals. So yeah, I think she's kind of spot on. I think Snowguard's very, very spot on thematically. Spectrum. In game, she is an on reveal that gives your ongoing cards +1 power. In the comics, she is a former Captain Marvel who is able to manipulate the light to fire as energy blasts or to make herself like intangible, etc., etc. So yeah, not even remotely close. The fact that she buffs ongoing cards, it's like, what? Got nothing to do with Spectrum. Spider-Ham. In-game, he turns the leftmost card in your opponent's hand into a pig. A basic old pig, which loses all its abilities. In the comics, he was a spider named Peter who was bitten by a radioactive Aunt May Porker. She was briefly irradiated. She bit this spider in an irradiated haze, and it transformed him into a humanoid pig with the powers of a spider, with still retained his spider powers. Feeling bad about what she did, Aunt May adopted Peter, so he became Peter Porker. Not even joking. That's literally how it happened. So I'm gonna go. I'm going to go not much to work with. He doesn't actually turn things into pigs. That was Aunt May Porker that did that, and only while she was briefly irradiated. So yeah, so he goes in, not much work to work with. I mean, thematically it's kind of there, but it's not anything he can actually do. So yeah, Spider-Man. In Snap, you know, move an enemy card to another location. Move himself and an enemy card. In the comics, you know the story. Bitten by a radioactive spider, gave him spider powers. Dedicated his life to fighting crime after a burglar that he failed to stop shot and killed his uncle, Uncle Ben. I'm putting him in close. I think his original ability was spot on, where he webs up a location so cards can't leave or enter. I think that was spot on for Spider-Man. But now his current ability of just swinging and moving, swinging around a villain, it's kind of thematic, but not as good as his original ability. All right, Spidey 2099. In game, first time he moves to a location, he destroys another card there. In the comics, in the future, Miguel O'Hara was a scientist at Alchemax who injected himself. Did he inject himself, or was he subject to an experiment that basically gave him powers similar to Spider-Man? And yeah, so he's got abilities similar to Spider-Man. He can glide though with the little web things on his arms, and he also has a venomous bite. So the fact that you move him and he destroys a card, it's got nothing to do with Spidey 2099. That's not what he does. Spider-Woman. In Snap, she inflicts enemy cards with -1 power. In the comics, she was experimented on by Hydra and given the ability to fire a venomous blast. Yeah. And she rebelled against Hydra and became a hero in her own right. So yeah, I think she's spot on. Yeah. Yep, Spider-Woman's spot on. Did a really good job with her. Squirrel Girl. In Snap, summons squirrels to the other locations. In the comics, she's a mutate that has the strength, proportionate strength and agility of a squirrel with a squirrel tail. And she can talk to squirrels. She has, and especially her favorite pet squirrel, Tippy Toe. So she's spot on. Summoning squirrels, spot on. It's on brand for Squirrel Girl. Star-Lord. All right, if enemy played a card there, he gets extra power. He's the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. You know his shtick. Abducted from Earth. Learned to be a Ravager. All that fun stuff. Ended up leading the Guardians of the Galaxy. Comic version's pretty much this. Oh, there was actually an older version of Star-Lord, who was nothing like the current Peter Quill, like completely different. There's not a lot to work with Star-Lord. Oh. No, I'm gonna go not even close. Like, he doesn't gain power from enemies. He should, like, you know, steal a card from your opponent or something. Like, that'd be more on brand for Star-Lord. Stature. Alright. In game, if the enemy has discarded a card, she costs 1. In the comics, she's the daughter of Scott Lang, Ant-Man, who is able to use the Pym particles to shrink or grow. So yeah, so her ability in game has nothing to do with the character. It's just a generic ability. Stegron. In the game, he moves an opposing card to another location. In the comics, he was a scientist named Dr. Vincent Stegron that was working on a cure for cancer using dinosaur DNA, and he was working with Kurt Connors, aka the Lizard. He injected himself with the serum that they came up with, and it actually turned him into a humanoid dinosaur. And so now he wants to take back the Earth and rule it for dinosaur kind. So his ability in game, nothing to do with the character. Storm. In game, she transforms. She floods a location where you can't play cards. In the comic, she's a mutant who can control the weather. So yeah, I'd say spot on. I mean, I wish they did more, but more with her in terms of her other abilities, because she just doesn't just make storms. She can control the wind and the rain and lightning. But yeah, for what it is, you know, for what it is, it's serviceable. It does the job. All right, strong guy. In game, if your hand is empty, he gains extra power. In the comics, he's a mutant with the ability to absorb kinetic energy, but instead of redirecting it as strength, he redirects. Well, he kind of redirects it as strength, but it's redirected as muscle mass, which is why he's such a big guy up top and small down bottom. Is when he was younger, he didn't know how to control it, and it permanently mutated his physique. So yeah, no, his in-game ability's got nothing to do with his comic book ability. Yeah. And so yeah, now if he absorbs too much kinetic energy, he risks giving him a heart attack. It happened once in the comics already. He actually got a heart attack from absorbing too much energy. Sunspot. In game, if you spend a turn with unspent energy, he gains that as power. In the comics, he absorbs solar radiation and redirects it as strength, flight, energy blasts. Yeah. So the absorbing, I'll give him a close. Absorbing excess energy, unspent energy, and redirecting it as power. Actually, you know what? I'll put it as spot on, to be honest. I'll put him as spot on. Super Skrull. In game, copies the all ongoing abilities from your opponent. In the comics, he was a Skrull warrior who underwent an experiment to grant him the powers of the Fantastic Four, who were enemies of the Skrull. They wanted a means to defeat the FF. And so they gave him the abilities of all four of the Fantastic Four. So, yeah, no, not even close. Super Giants. In game, any cards you play on the next turn aren't revealed till the end of the game. In the comics, she is a powerful telepath who can place suggestions in weaker minds. Yeah, he can't even get all the FF's abilities in games. Exactly. So yeah, so Super Giant's ability in game, nothing to do with her comic book ability. Swarm. Swarm. Swarm, in game, when he's discarded from your hand, he adds multiple free copies back to your hand. In the comics, he was a Nazi scientist named Fritz von Meyer, who was experimenting on a queen bee in order to try to be able to take control of the swarm and utilize it for evil Nazi things. The queen rebelled against his attempts to control her, caused the swarm to attack him, and literally strip the flesh off his bones. But during the attack, he was able to merge minds with the queen. So his psyche took over the queen bee, and reanimated his skeleton with the swarm. So he's literally a dead Nazi scientist skeleton, controlled by a swarm of bees. It's Nazi bee guy. But his ability in game, nothing to do with the comics, so. Alright, Swordmaster. In game, he discards a random card from your hand. In the comics, don't know a whole lot about Swordmaster. The sword that he wields was an ancestral family sword or something, imbued with souls. But he most recently, it was shattered and ended up embedded in his hands. And then he ended up getting the power of the Iron Fist, so he's like the current Iron Fist in the Marvel Universe. So, yeah, I think he goes in not a lot to work with. Not much to work with. There's not a whole lot you can do with a card like that. So, like, you know, yeah, he discards a card, he slashes it with the sword. Okay. Fair.